When it comes to the opening at Texas A&M, Deion Sanders doesn't worry about it. He's staying at Colorado.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borber. Today's episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team every day for free, wherever you get your podcast. Today's episode, we are talking about Coach Prime and the Texas A&M rumors. Obviously, as soon as Jimbo Fisher was fired on Sunday, which if you didn't know that, Texas A&M head coach Jimbo Fisher was fired on Sunday, and that leaves a lot of coaches, specifically in the Pac-12, I guess you could say, in the discussion as replacements for him, because obviously the Pac-12 has been popping this year. Dan Lanning's been linked there, and he said he's not going to go. Kalen DeBoer, the Washington head coach, has been linked there. He didn't have a strong statement. I think he's trying to get a little bit of some money from Washington. And then Coach Prime was also linked to Texas A&M by fans, and a lot of people want him to at least be considered because he has those Texas ties. I think his recruiting and just all-around allure would boost Texas A&M to a level they've never experienced. Like, think Johnny Manziel. I think Coach Prime's presence, and if he could generate any sort of success at Texas A&M, would easily surpass that. And so that'd be quite the sight. And so a lot of people are like, he makes a lot of sense. Even though his team kind of fizzled out lately, there's a lot more reasons to do it than there is to not, I guess you could say. Like, a lot of people are getting on Coach Prime for his record. Colorado won one game last year. There's a chance they could win anywhere from 4 to 6, maybe 7 if they make it to a bowl game and win the bowl game. And even if they stay at 4, that's way better than last season. He has a knack for attracting talent, and I think it would be a lot easier for him to recruit to Texas than it would be to Colorado. I think a lot of kids have more of an interest in being in Texas, and also he would have the SEC logo or patch on his team's jerseys, which would be another major selling point that a lot of people don't consider. And so, is there coaching issues or is there game management issues that he could learn about and learn from this season? Absolutely. I think that's kind of been his biggest flaw this year outside of the Sean Lewis decision, because I still think that was a interesting choice. I think his biggest flaw has been game management. I think there's been a lot of moments where even though someone else is doing something, he's the head coach and he should be like, you know what, guys, we're not going to do that because we only have whatever this scenario is. We're not going to have the time. He's had some questionable conservative calls in fourth down. He's had some questionable play calling where, again, it's not his job to call the plays, but at some point you kind of have to assume that the head coach would just dive in there and be like, you know what, this is what we're doing. And especially with Coach Prime, it's his ship. So he gets to run the ship. He gets to call the shots. And so he hasn't always seemed like he doesn't have a full grasp on it yet. I don't say he has a full grasp, but there's moments to learn from, I guess we could say. But he was thrown into the conversation, into the Texas A&M conversation. And I think that's the only job open right now where I could realistically see him leaving Colorado. And I talked about it multiple times throughout the year. The jobs that I think he would leave Colorado for. And these are big jobs, obviously. So you're probably going to be like, oh my gosh, but this is assuming he does well. This isn't off a whim, Coach Prime is going to get these jobs. This is assuming he does well, turns his program around even more, and they're contending for the Big 12 and maybe the college football playoff. Florida State, obviously his alma mater. I think he kind of wanted that job, but they went with Mike Norvell instead. I think he kind of would take that job in a heartbeat. Miami, to get into Florida. He's a Florida guy. So all the Florida jobs, I think, are on the table. Now, granted, Miami's Florida State's rival. Does he care? I don't know. Florida, same thing. And then Texas A&M was the other job where I was like, if that job opens up, I could see him taking it. He was interviewed for the TCU job. He was considered for that. And he's like, okay, he's from Florida, also from Texas, if that makes sense. He has Texas ties. He has a lot of roots in Texas. His kids went to school there. And so I think there's a lot to be said about what he like what states or what places he would go to, because he already did a stint in a little stint in Mississippi. Mississippi State's open. I don't think he goes back to Mississippi State. I don't think that's an upgrade over Colorado. I really don't. Outside of having the SEC patch, I don't think Mississippi State's a better job than Colorado, because I think he could do whatever he wants in Colorado. And would you rather be at a program that could be the face of the Big 12, or would you rather be at Mississippi State, who's probably the 10th most relevant program in the SEC? Like, there's levels to this. Mississippi State has probably had more success, but I think Coach Prime would probably rather be at Colorado. And so when speaking to the media today, he told, and intern Griffin was there, and I'm glad he was, because he sent me these quotes ASAP, and I was writing about him. This is what he said about the Texas A&M rumor. First of all, he said he's not focused on that, so he's going to focus on, he's like, I'm trying to win this week. So he's focused on their game against Washington State. But this was the quote that stood out to me. I am here. I am here. My mother is here. My sister is here. My dog is here. My daughter is here. 3 of my sons are here. And my other daughter comes out for the home games. I get mail here, pay taxes here. I'm here. So I think that's pretty straightforward. Now, obviously, this isn't me trying to shoot down anything that he's saying. Coaches say this all the time. Lincoln Riley, when he was leaving to be the head coach of USC, they're like, are you going to be the head coach of LSU? Obviously, he's not going to be like, no, I'm not. I'm going to be the head coach of USC. But coaches will deny any interest with other programs until they sign that dotted line. It is what it is. But I think Coach Prime is trying to show that he's planted his roots in Colorado, which I think if you're a Colorado fan, you have to love. Now, if you're a Colorado fan, you kind of have to be a little bit grateful that this Texas A&M job opened now, because I do think all of his family, I won't say they're holding him back, but he wants to coach his sons. And he wants to, I think Travis Hunter is, I would say from the outside looking in, they have a father-son like relationship, I guess you could say, or like you could just tell Travis Hunter admires and thinks very fondly of Coach Prime, and why wouldn't you? But if Coach Prime takes another job right now, Shedeur is not going to play for him next year. Travis won't play for him next year. Unless they transfer, or unless they obviously have to transfer, unless they graduate within the next couple months and then are able to transfer, which they probably still miss spring ball, they would not be able to play for Coach Prime unless they get a waiver, which we all know how that goes with NCAA. And so that's probably not going to happen, since it would be their second time transferring. So I think he's firmly planted in Colorado. Now, it'll be interesting to see what jobs open up next cycle, because I do think, say Miami opens up and all of his sons and Travis Hunter are gone, because they could all go to the NFL next year. Shedeur is going to the NFL. Shiloh's going to the NFL. Travis could go to the NFL, probably will. Then it'll be interesting, because he will have no blood ties to Colorado. And I don't think he takes a job with the expectation that, like, obviously he didn't take the Jackson State job to coach his sons. Like, that wasn't going to be the main avenue that his sons could play college football in. Shiloh was at South Carolina. Shedeur was committed to FAU. Obviously he takes a job and Shedeur flips, and then Shiloh transfers over. I think he just happened to be able to coach his sons. I think they wanted to play for their dad. Now, when he doesn't have a chance to coach his sons now, I think it'll be interesting. But for now, Coach Prime is staying at Colorado. Huge win for Colorado. I think they have a prime opportunity, no pun intended, to kind of, I won't say control the Big 12, but they have a chance to be in the Big 12 and be a major player in the Big 12 in the next couple of years. So that'll be interesting to see. But I liked the vote of confidence he gave. It felt needed. It felt like they needed it in Colorado. It felt like they needed it in Boulder. So we'll see how it works out. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Jase Medical. We spend a lot of time together talking, you and I. We get fired up together on wins and losses, who starts and who sits, and I'm thankful for that connection. I really am. And today, I want our chat to be a little more personal. I just learned that you could get a 1-year supply on ED medications. You realize what that means, right? Bring on extended travel, bring on the next natural disaster or supply chain issue, you are covered, my friend. You don't have to worry about whether or not you can refill your generics for Cialis, Viagra, or whatever prescription you may need. And this is possible because of our friends over at Jase Medical. Go online right now at jasemedical.com to receive your 12-month supply on your daily medication. Remember to use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout, all one word, locked on, for a discount as well. A verified customer had this to say about Jase Medical. I am thankful for this service. Supply chain issues caused me to cut pills in half to have it. I ordered most of my daily meds with a year's supply. I also ordered an antibiotic kit. I feel secure now. Prices are lower than local pharmacies. I highly recommend this for everyone. If you or someone you love would get some peace of mind by having a year's supply of any daily med, go to jasemedical.com to see if it's offered for you. Remember to use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your purchase. Don't get caught unprepared. Everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. Welcome back. We are now talking about it's all things Buffs football, as you know. But now we're talking about how this helps. And you're probably like, what helps? Coach Prime saying he's staying. That buys him, or should buy him, the respect of recruits, the trust of recruits. Obviously, Winston Watkins Jr., the 2025 receiver, decommitted from Colorado a couple days ago. And he was like, I don't think Coach Prime's going to be there when I'm there. And I just want to have my options open, which is fair. I talked about it yesterday, and I'll dive into it right now. 2025 commits, or whenever you land a commitment 2 years in advance, we'll say, it's really hard to keep them committed. That's just too long for a young person to not be persuaded, to not make up their mind, to not see something else and be like, maybe I want to go there. Especially nowadays in the social media era, all it takes is for one player or one recruit from another school's class to be like, at Kevin Borba, what's the move? Are we going to Auburn? Are we going to Fresno State? Whatever it may be. And sometimes it just will make someone change their mind. And so Winston Watkins, while I think there was some weight to his concern, I still think that it'll be interesting to see what kind of jobs come Coach Prime's way next year, because I assume he's going to do well in the Big 12. I assume Colorado is going to have a big year next year. Does that mean he stays again, or does he kind of start looking? Because obviously his family's no longer there, obviously, or his sons. His daughter will still be there, but he's not coaching her. And so there's a lot to consider. And so Winston Watkins reopens his recruitment, and it's like, oh no, Coach Prime is leaving. And it's like, okay, I could see why he would think that. But let's take a look at the recruit himself. And this isn't anything against Winston Watkins. It happens all the time. He committed to Texas A&M last year, so a year ago now. So he was going to hold a Texas A&M commitment for 3 years, basically. And then Coach Prime gets hired at Colorado. And he was, I think, the first commitment that Coach Prime landed while he was at Colorado, like literally the day after or the day of. Winston Watkins was like, yeah, I'm going to Colorado. I'm going to play for Coach Prime. I'm going wherever he goes. And then all of a sudden, Coach Prime, there's coaching rumors, and he's like, I'm going to back off. And so he said he's going to wait till signing day to sign. And I think that's a smart decision on his part. I think there's kind of not a stigma around these guys that commit and decommit a lot, but there's kind of like I think he just needs to go through the process, is what I'm saying. I think he needs to take some time, visit schools, figure out what schools are offering him, figure out what schools can offer him, and just go from there. I think there's a lot to be said about someone who decommits a few times. Also, how this helps Coach Prime in Colorado, this gives them the opportunity to be like, Coach Prime said he's staying. He said he wants to be here. His family's here. And all these reasons are exactly why he's staying. And so there's recruits like Talon Chandler, the 3-star offensive lineman. He has a crystal ball to Missouri right now. He's a Missouri native. Steve Wiltfong from 24/7 Sports is projecting that he's going to flip from Colorado to Missouri. That'd be another loss to Colorado's class. Their 2024 class, I think they're going to be in the flip market a lot. I think that's going to be where most of their production comes from. They have Jordan Seaton, who's a 5-star offensive tackle that they'd really like to get. But other than that, they're ranked 63rd. Aaron Butler is their top ranked commit. He's the only commit within the top 247 players, 88th overall. Then they have Brandon Davis Swain, a defensive lineman. They have Omar White, who I don't remember. I think he had some legal issues. I'm not really sure what the update was on that. There hasn't been much said about him. And then there's only 2 4-stars, and then the rest are 3-stars. And then they did get an offensive tackle from the junior college level. But the rest of these guys are 3-stars. I think there's a lot of hesitancy to kind of see what Coach Prime's going to do. And I think now that he appears to be all in on Colorado, I think that makes his life easier, makes his job easier. And they're probably going to hit a huge recruiting surge in this next month or so. And Kai Bates just decommitted from LSU. And so maybe Colorado starts landing some recruits, because this class is currently sitting at 10 people. And obviously, I don't know if I imagine he's going to try to be a player in the transfer portal again. I just don't think that's the move for him. I don't know if that interrupted my episode there, but I just got a random phone call. So let me just do not disturb. But what I was saying was, I don't think Coach Prime, his status being so up in the air was a good thing. And now that he has that time, I think he's going to try to be a major mover. And in the transfer portal, we don't know if that's going to work again. I don't know if I would say it worked for skill position players, didn't work in the trenches. Let's just call a spade a spade. So he probably needs to hit this recruiting class pretty hard on the offensive and defensive line. And whether or not he gets the guys he needs will be seen. But they need to develop and recruit those positions a lot better. This episode of Locked On Buffs is also brought to you by our sponsors over at LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available, and that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Add your job. If you want to find the perfect candidate, add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile. Spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience, so you could quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivery quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Okay, to conclude this episode, we are doing a quarterback battle comparison. And normally, this is my first one that I've done all year. I think this is the one that, I don't say it's the most important one, but it's the one that's the most interesting to me. I think when Shedeur Sanders transferred in to Colorado from Jackson State, there was a lot of questions. There was a lot of questions about, can he translate to this level? Will his skill set translate to this level? And the best comparison we had was none other than Mr. Cam Ward over at Washington State. And so I'm going to break down their stats a little bit. They have very similar stats. I broke it down yesterday, so go check that out. But what does this quarterback battle mean? Well, for starters, these two guys, I don't want to say they are paving the way or trailblazers by any means, but they are showing that you could be an FCS level guy, or maybe lower, or whatever it may be. You could be an FCS level guy and transfer to the Power 5 and have an impact. I think it's really cool that both these guys went to schools that were obviously, Shedeur went to Jackson State to play for his father, HBCU, and Cameron Ward, I think he played in a triple option offense or a very run heavy offense in high school. And so he didn't have a lot of opportunities. So into Incarnate Word, and they both popped off at the FCS level. They both popped off, and then they both took a chance. Because obviously, when you transfer from the FCS level as a quarterback, receivers, running backs, linemen, whatever it may be, different. Teams will take a chance on you. Quarterbacks, though, everyone's like, well, there's a reason he was at the FCS level. There's a reason he was down there and not up here to begin with. And so this quarterback battle is one to look out for. Now, a lot of people made comparisons of them. I think because of their situation, skill sets, they're a little bit different. Cam Ward has a little Johnny Manziel to him, little Marcus Mariota to him. Shedeur Sanders, while he can move, I think that he did get clocked at 20 miles per hour the other day, which I thought was pretty crazy. I was like, oh, didn't know he had that gear in him. But I would say he's hard to compare. He's hard to like Michael Penix, for instance. I would say him and Shedeur are similar in the sense that they both like to throw the deep ball. They both throw a great deep ball. They both can run, but they're not choosing to run often. Cam Ward has that Johnny Manziel factor where he'll run around in the backfield, make some plays. And so I think it's disrespectful to compare their skill sets because they're different quarterbacks. And then we all know why you would say they're similar in skill set, but they have similar numbers. They have similar backgrounds. And I think this matchup is going to be huge. And obviously they're both leaders. They're both trying to get their team to a bowl game. Both these programs are 4-6, and they obviously both need to win out to get to a bowl game to get to 6-6. And so it's going to be a great matchup. Look out for the big arm, the big throws. I expect there, especially with these defenses, there's going to be a few big throws and big arm plays on Saturday. So I hope you guys are watching out. And Cam Ward, I think if he stays another year in college, I don't know if he's going to remain at Washington State because their situation is so murky. Maybe he transfers to like a LSU or something. Maybe this is a kind of a battle of next year's quarterback class, top couple prospects. Quinn Ewers is expected to return next year as well. So if I had to rank my quarterback prospects for next year, it'd be Quinn Ewers, Shedeur, and Cam Ward. Those would be my top three, no particular order. But this is going to be an interesting battle, and I hope you guys enjoy it. The game, I believe, is on the Pac-12 network. Let me see. Yep. No, it's on FS1. Cool. So FS1, 7:30, 7:30 Pacific. So that's 6:30 Mountain Time, and then 4:30 for Eastern Standard Time for those of you that live in the future. But I appreciate you guys for tuning in to Locked On Buffs. I appreciate you guys for subscribing. We just got over 3,800 subscribers, so I appreciate you guys and your support. I want to get to 4,000 by the end of the season. We're at 3,820 something ish or whatever. So let's get there. I appreciate your guys' support. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you guys tomorrow.